The training arena of Orion Academy shimmered under the twin suns. Rows of alien cadets stood in formation, their polished armor flashing like liquid metal. The air smelled of ozone, sweat, and arrogance. At the center of the ring stood Instructor Varex, a tall, silver-skinned veteran with a scar that crossed one glowing eye. He was proud, loud, and convinced no human deserved to be among his elite. The human boy, Eli, looked out of place. His uniform was plain, his build small compared to the towering alien students. Some snickered. Others whispered words like weak and fragile. Eli ignored them. He stood calm, his hands in his pockets, as if waiting for something none of them could see. Beside him sat a strange creature, a stocky, dark-furred animal with sharp claws and tiny, blazing eyes. Its armor looked pieced together from scrap, dull gray, and scratched. It sniffed the air once and grumbled. The aliens laughed. "What is that thing?" one cadet hissed. "A pest from a dirt planet," another sneered. Instructor Varex crossed his arms. Humans were told to bring a partner for the survival test. "You bring this rodent?" Eli's lips curled into the faintest smile. "He's enough," Varex chuckled. "Enough? For what, cleaning the floor?" The arena lights dimmed as the shields rose, trapping them inside a massive dome. The test had begun. Combat holograms flickered into existence, synthetic beasts programmed for speed and strength. The alien cadets drew their plasma spears, claws, and blades. The roar of the crowd echoed through the academy's halls. Everyone expected the human to run, to scream, or maybe to beg. Instead, Eli knelt beside the creature. He whispered something no one could hear. The honey badger's ears twitched. Its eyes sharpened. The first holographic beast lunged, a giant reptilian brute with metallic fangs. It charged straight for Eli. The crowd gasped. Eli didn't move. The honey badger did. It launched forward like a shadow fired from a cannon. One heartbeat later, the reptile hit the ground, bleeding sparks from its broken jaw. The alien cadets froze, unsure if what they saw was real. The creature ripped apart the target like it was made of paper, then turned its glowing eyes on the next. "Impossible," Varex muttered. The second wave of holograms surrounded them, fast, strong, and relentless. The honey badger tore through them, a blur of claws and fury. It didn't just fight, it danced. Each strike was brutal, efficient, terrifying. Bits of holographic dust filled the air like golden smoke. The alien cadets stepped back. Their instructor didn't move. He was watching, calculating as his arrogance turned into unease. "Enough!" he shouted. "End the simulation!" But the system didn't stop. The arena flickered, malfunctioning from the energy spikes caused by the creature's strikes. The lights dimmed again, sparks rained from the control towers. One alien cadet stumbled backward, his voice shaking. "That thing, it's not a pest." Eli looked up at the viewing deck where the instructors stood, his expression calm. "You called it harmless," he said quietly. "You were wrong." The honey badger turned in a slow circle, breathing heavily, claws scraping the floor. Its fur bristled, reflecting the arena lights like steel. It wasn't just an animal anymore. It was something older, something born for survival and destruction. Instructor Varex finally spoke, his voice low. "What did you do to it, human?" "Nothing," Eli answered. "We just understand each other." The arena gates burst open. The simulation's emergency override failed, releasing one last monster, a towering metal beast designed to challenge 10 warriors at once. The audience shouted in panic. Varex reached for his control panel, but the power flickered out. The honey badger growled, stepping forward. Eli didn't stop it. The ground trembled as it leaped at the metal giant, claws tearing through alloy and shield fields. The sound of grinding steel filled the air. Sparks flew like lightning. Every alien in the room stared in disbelief as the harmless creature shredded through the beast's armor like it was soft clay. When the dust finally settled, the arena was silent. The metal creature lay in ruins. The honey badger stood over it, panting softly, eyes glowing red under the arena's broken lights. Eli walked up beside it and placed a hand on its head. "Good job," he whispered. The audience didn't clap. They didn't move. No one dared, because in that silence everyone understood. Humans were not weak. And whatever bond existed between that boy and his strange creature was something far beyond fear. Outside the cracked dome, the Academy's flag trembled in the wind. The world had just learned a small truth wrapped in quiet horror. Never laugh at what humans call harmless. The arena was silent long after the test ended. Instructors whispered in disbelief. Cadets stared at the shredded metal remains of the training droid, its glowing eyes flickering out one by one. The honey badger sat beside Eli, licking a burn on its paw like nothing had happened. Eli's expression stayed calm. To him, this was normal. But to everyone else, it was impossible. Instructor Varex's voice cracked through the silence. "Get that creature contained, now!" A squad of security drones floated forward, their lights flashing red. They surrounded the boy and his companion. The honey badger's fur bristled. Its growl vibrated through the floor. "Stand down, human!" Varex snapped. "Your pet is dangerous. You will both be taken for examination." Eli's eyes narrowed. "He's not a pet. He's my partner." The drones fired energy nets. For a heartbeat, it looked like they'd trapped the creature, until the honey badger moved. It rolled, twisted, and shredded the nets with its claws, sending sparks flying. The drones crashed to the ground one by one, their circuits fried. The watching cadets backed away, their confidence melting into fear. The smell of scorched metal filled the air. Eli sighed. "You really shouldn't have done that," he said softly, almost to himself. The honey badger gave a low snarl, then turned its head toward the stands, where higher-ranking officers of the Galactic Council sat in their observation booth. They had seen everything. None of them looked pleased. One of the alien officials, a tall being with translucent blue skin and burning golden eyes, leaned forward. "This is unacceptable. That human brought a weapon into a training facility. That creature is a threat to all cadets." "It's not a weapon," Eli said quietly. "He only reacts when he's provoked." Varex pointed at the shattered arena floor. "Provoked? It destroyed government property and attacked Academy assets." Eli looked down at the creature, then back at the alien officers. "You called him harmless." "He proved you wrong." The honey badger sniffed the air again. It wasn't looking for trouble, but something about the energy in the room made it uneasy. Its small ears twitched. It could feel hatred, fear, and something worse, the cold smell of deceit. Eli could feel it too. Later that night, in the Academy dorms, whispers spread like fire. Every student had seen the footage replayed across the holo screens. The human's pet wasn't just strong, it was unstoppable. Some called it a monster, others called it a miracle. But all agreed on one thing: no one wanted to fight it. In the shadows of the Academy's research division, scientists analyzed the battle recordings. They slowed the footage, frame by frame, trying to understand the creature's speed, strength, and reaction time. The data didn't make sense. The energy readings were off the charts, beyond anything natural. It wasn't just muscle, it was something else. Something ancient. Meanwhile, Eli sat outside the Academy barracks under the starlit sky. The honey badger lay beside him, its eyes half closed, breathing slow and calm. "You did good today," he said softly. "But they're scared now. They won't stop." The creature tilted its head, then let out a quiet grunt, as if agreeing. Eli looked toward the distant lights of the city beyond the Academy walls. They think they can control everything. They think they understand what power means, but they've never seen what humans become when pushed too far. Suddenly, the ground beneath them vibrated. Alarm sirens blared through the Academy. Holo screens across the sky turned red. Security breach, level Omega. Eli stood up instantly. The honey badger growled, claws scraping the dirt. Far in the distance, explosions lit the night. Varex's voice echoed over the speakers. "Cadets to battle stations! The Academy is under attack!" Alien warships broke through the clouds, black and silver, their engines screaming. Beams of plasma rained down on the training grounds. The once proud Academy erupted into chaos. Eli grabbed his creature's armor harness. "Come on, buddy. Time to work." The honey badger's eyes glowed like embers. Together they ran toward the burning skyline, the air filled with smoke and fear. Alien cadets scrambled to arm themselves. The invading ships carried no insignia, mercenaries maybe, or something worse. They moved with precision, their weapons tearing through defenses. It wasn't just an attack, it was a message. When Eli and his partner reached the command deck, Varric turned in shock. What are you doing here? You're not authorized. Saving lives, Eli interrupted. The honey badger leapt past him, shredding through fallen debris blocking the main entrance. Eli moved behind it, guiding panicked cadets out through the breach. The explosions grew closer. Varric shouted over the noise. That thing of yours, can it fight like before? Eli gave a small smile. You'll see. The next blast shattered the observation dome. Alien attackers dropped through the smoke. The honey badger roared, a sound that froze the air. It moved like lightning, tearing through armor, ripping weapons apart, sending enemies flying across the deck. Each movement was clean, brutal, precise. Cadets who once mocked Eli now fought beside him, watching in awe as the harmless creature became their shield. When the final invader fell, silence returned, broken only by the sound of fire and distant alarms. The arena was gone. The academy lay in ruins. But those who survived knew one thing for certain. If not for the human and his strange beast, none of them would be alive. Varric stepped forward slowly, eyes wide. That thing just saved us. Eli looked down at his blood-streaked companion. Now you see what harmless really means. The honey badger blinked once, tired but unbroken. The fires around them reflected in its eyes like two suns burning in the night. The morning after the attack, the academy was a graveyard of twisted steel and smoke. Medical drones hovered between the ruins, scanning for survivors. The smell of scorched metal and burned circuits clung to everything. Eli sat on a broken pillar, his uniform torn and streaked with soot. Beside him, the honey badger slept, its chest rising and falling steadily. It had fought through the night without rest. Even now, its claws were still dark with dried alien blood. Instructors and cadets avoided looking directly at them. Fear had replaced laughter. The same students who once mocked the harmless creature now whispered about it like a living legend. Some called it Death's Pet. Others just called it the Earth Beast. Varric stood a few meters away, speaking into a comlink. His voice was tense. Yes, Counselor. The human and the creature are contained. Yes. I understand the risk. Eli didn't have to hear the rest to know what was coming. A convoy of armored transports arrived before noon. From them stepped the Galactic Council enforcers, sleek, faceless beings wrapped in glowing armor. Their leader, Counselor Zelthor, approached with slow, deliberate steps. His voice was calm but cold enough to freeze a sun. Human, he said. You and your creature are to come with us. Varric shifted uneasily. Counselor, with respect, the boy saved lives. Without him, silence, Zelthor snapped. What he unleashed is no hero's act. That animal is not a companion. It is a weapon, a biological threat. Eli stood, his eyes steady. He saved your academy. He destroyed half of it, the counselor replied. The honey badger stirred, sensing the hostility. It rose, fur bristling, a low growl rumbling deep in its chest. The enforcers drew their weapons instantly, surrounding them in a circle of blue energy. Eli raised his hand. Don't, he'll defend himself. One of the enforcers scoffed. Against us? That thing's nothing without your command. Eli's gaze hardened. Try it. Before anyone could stop him, the enforcer stepped forward. He jabbed his weapon toward the honey badger. It moved faster than thought. A flash of motion, a metallic scream, and the enforcer's weapon shattered like glass. He was thrown back, armor sparking. The others froze. The honey badger's eyes glowed bright red now, not with anger, but with pure focus. It didn't breathe heavy. It didn't roar. It just watched. Zelthor's voice trembled for the first time. Restrain it! Don't, Eli said. If you push him, he won't stop. Varric finally stepped between them. Counselor, enough. The human speaks truth. The creature only reacts to hostility, the counselor glared. And you would defend them? Varric hesitated, then nodded. After what I saw, yes. A long silence followed. The air buzzed with tension. The honey badger's claws tapped the ground, a sound that echoed like distant thunder. At last, Zelthor spoke again. Very well. The council will decide their fate. Bring them to the capital. The enforcers lowered their weapons but kept their distance. As Eli and his companion were escorted onto the transport ship, the crowd watched in uneasy silence. No one dared whisper this time. As the ship lifted off, Eli looked down at the smoking ruins of the academy. He could still hear the echo of the battle, the screams, the fear. He placed a hand on the honey badger's armored back. "They don't understand," he murmured. The creature growled softly, eyes watching the stars ahead. Hours later, deep in the heart of the galactic capital, the Council of Species assembled. 100 alien races filled the chamber, tall, winged, scaled, and luminous. Each delegate's voice added to the storm of argument. "The human's beast is a threat," one shouted. "It is unnatural," hissed another. "A weapon of mass destruction," cried a third. And then, from the center of the chaos, came a calm voice. Varex. He stood before them, his scars catching the light. "You all saw the recordings. The creature fought only when provoked. It protected the weak. Tell me, what threat is that? Or is the problem that it belongs to a human?" The chamber erupted again. Zelthor's voice boomed above the noise. "Enough! This is not a debate about fairness. This is survival. That creature's abilities exceed the limits of any biological species. If humans can control such power, then no world is safe." Eli stood at the entrance, silent, watching. The honey badger stood beside him like a shadow of defiance. Finally, Eli stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the hall. "You keep calling him dangerous. But you never ask why he fights. He doesn't fight for domination. He fights for me, because I fight for him." The room fell silent. Eli looked around at the sea of alien faces. "You can call it a weapon, a monster, or whatever helps you sleep. But every time you laugh at what humans bring, every time you look down on us, remember this. Your arrogance built your enemies." The honey badger growled low, echoing the weight of his words. Counselor Zelthor leaned forward, eyes cold. "Then perhaps it's time we remind humanity of its place." Eli's eyes narrowed. "You can try." The chamber's lights flickered. Somewhere outside, alarms began to wail again. But this time, it wasn't a training arena under attack. It was the capital itself, and the galaxy was about to learn that Harmless was just the first mistake. The alarms screamed across the galactic capital. Crimson lights flashed through the glass corridors of the council tower. Delegates ran in panic, their glowing robes sweeping behind them. Outside, dark ships descended through the clouds, sleek, silent, and armed. Eli stood frozen for a moment, watching the chaos unfold through the tall observation window. "They found us," he whispered. The honey badger growled softly beside him, sensing danger long before any siren. Its claws flexed against the polished floor, leaving faint scratches. Varex burst into the hall, his voice sharp. "The attackers are not rebels, they're council forces. Someone gave the order to purge the human and the creature." Eli turned. "Purge?" "They fear you," Varex said. "They fear what you represent." The honey badger's eyes narrowed. It could feel the energy building outside, the hum of weapons charging, the tremor of soldiers marching. Through the smoke and light, the heavy doors to the chamber burst open. Counselor Zelthor stepped in, flanked by armored guards. His tone was cold, almost gentle. "Eli of Earth, you and your beast are hereby detained under Article 7 of Galactic Law. Threat to species balance." Varex moved between them. "You can't do this. They saved us!" Zelthor raised a hand. "Move aside, instructor. You've already disgraced yourself." Eli looked at the guards, then at the honey badger. The creature's body was low to the ground now, muscles coiled, breath slow. The guards raised their rifles. Eli exhaled once. "Don't." But it was too late. A shot cracked the air, a searing beam of blue plasma. It struck the floor inches from Eli's feet. The honey badger roared, and a sound that wasn't an animal cry, but something deeper. The walls shook. The guards staggered back, clutching their ears. Then the creature moved. It hit the first guard so fast that his weapon hadn't even fallen before he did. The second fired wildly, only to be slammed into the wall by a blur of claws. Sparks exploded from the impact. Varex grabbed Eli's arm. "We have to go, now!" They ran through the hallways, alarms blaring above. The honey badger tore through barriers like paper, clearing the path ahead. Behind them, Zelthor's voice echoed over the comm system. "Seal every exit." "The human must not escape." Eli's mind raced. "Varex, where can we go?" "There's an old cargo bay beneath the Senate spire," Varex said. "It connects to the underground tunnels. Smugglers used them before the council banned human trade routes." They reached the lift shaft, half-collapsed and glowing from energy burns. The honey badger didn't hesitate. It leapt down into the dark, claws gripping the metal wall. Eli climbed onto its back as it slid down like a living tank. Sparks trailed behind them. They landed in the lower levels, a maze of rusted corridors and flickering lights. The smell of fuel and oil hung thick in the air. Varex stumbled after them, breathing hard. "You realize, human, this is treason now." Eli looked at him. "Then maybe it's time someone committed it." Varex gave a bitter laugh. "You humans never learn fear." "Fear keeps you alive," Eli said quietly. "But it never wins wars." The honey badger stopped suddenly, its nose twitching. It stared down the tunnel ahead, body stiff. A low growl vibrated through its chest. From the shadows, more figures appeared. Not council soldiers, but rough-looking aliens in patched armor. Smugglers, pirates, rebels. They held their weapons ready but didn't fire. Their leader, a tall insectoid with glowing mandibles, stepped forward. "We heard the comms," it said. "The council wants you dead, human." "That means you did something right." Eli stared at him. "You'll help us?" The insectoid clicked its mandibles. "Maybe, but we don't work for free." Before Eli could answer, the honey badger stepped forward and let out a short, sharp growl. Every weapon in the room lowered at once. The alien leader blinked. "Or maybe we can make an exception." Varex shook his head. "You've started something you can't stop." Eli glanced at the honey badger, whose red eyes gleamed faintly under the dim lights. "It's already started." Hours later, deep in the rebel outpost beneath the Capitol, the group gathered around a flickering holomap. "The council's going to frame this as a terrorist attack," Varex said grimly. "They'll claim you unleashed your creature on their forces." "Then we show them the truth," Eli said. "Every system has eyes. Every colony has humans. We'll tell them what happened here." The insectoid rebel leader tilted its head. "You want to start a war?" Eli's expression didn't change. "No. I want to finish the one they started." The honey badger growled quietly beside him, a low, promising sound. Outside, thunder rolled across the skies of the Capitol. But it wasn't thunder. It was the first wave of human ships entering orbit, drawn by the broadcast of one small boy and his not-so-harmless creature. The galaxy was about to remember why humanity was never meant to be underestimated. Orbit above the galactic capital boiled with light. Dozens of human ships cut through the clouds, sleek, black, and burning with plasma trails. The Council's defense grid tried to activate, but half its systems were still down from the chaos below. Every broadcast tower in the system now carried the same signal. The recording from the arena, the laughter, the arrogance, and the honey badger's roar, across alien worlds. That roar played again and again. In the rebel tunnels, Eli watched the holofeed flicker. "They saw it," he whispered. Varex nodded slowly. "And they'll come for you now, your people and the council both." The honey badger sat beside him, motionless, like a statue made of muscle and intent. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. It wasn't angry anymore. It was waiting. The insectoid rebel leader clicked its mandibles. "The council fleet is forming near the moon. They mean to intercept your ships before they reach orbit." Eli's jaw tightened. "Then we don't give them the chance." He knelt beside the honey badger. The creature tilted its head as he whispered something close to its ear. Not a command, more like an old promise. It gave a low rumble and stood. Moments later, the ground shook as human dropships punched through the atmosphere. One landed just outside the tunnels, throwing up dust and heat. Marines in gray armor poured out, weapons ready. Their commander, a scarred woman with cold blue eyes, spotted Eli and froze. "Cadet Eli Hart?" she asked. He nodded. "We saw the footage. You and your partner just woke up every system in the human network. Orders are simple. Extraction if possible, retaliation if not." Eli looked at the city burning above. "No, not yet," the commander frowned. "You're outnumbered, kid." He glanced at the honey badger. "So were we before." The council fleet appeared over the horizon like a wall of fire. Dozens of ships aligned in perfect formation, their energy cores humming. The human fleet rose to meet them, smaller, older, but built by a species that survived everything its galaxy threw at it. Inside the council tower, Zelthor stared at the hollow projection of the two fleets closing in. "Idiots," he muttered. "They think they can fight us with sentiment." But then he saw it, the energy readings coming from the surface. Massive spikes in gravitational flux, centered not on any weapon but on one small biological source. "Impossible," he whispered. "That creature again?" Down on the ground, Eli and his companions stood at the edge of the old arena ruins, the same place it all began. The air around them shimmered with strange light, rippling like heat. Varek stepped forward, voice shaking. "Eli, what is it doing?" "It's adapting," Eli said quietly. "He always learns." The honey badger's fur lifted as blue energy coursed across its body, drawing power from the planet's damaged reactors. The ground cracked beneath its claws. Every nearby screen flashed static. In orbit, both fleets faltered as their sensors overloaded. Then the creature roared. The sound wasn't just heard, it hit. A pulse of force expanded outward, frying weapon systems, scrambling navigation. Council ships spun out of formation. Their shields failed. On the ground, soldiers fell to their knees, clutching their helmets. Eli stood still in the eye of the chaos, wind tearing at his clothes. "You said we were dangerous," he shouted toward the sky. "Now you finally understand why." The honey badger charged forward through fire and smoke, cutting through enemy lines like a storm made of teeth and light. Council troops broke and ran. No one had ever seen anything like it. A creature small enough to fit under a table, bringing down an empire's army. Varek watched, speechless. "By the stars, that thing's rewriting physics." Eli didn't answer. He was already running behind it, dodging plasma fire, guiding the human forces as they advanced. The battle raged for hours. Human soldiers and alien rebels fought side by side, following the path the creature carved through the city. The council's power, centuries old, began to crumble. By nightfall, the capital's spires burned like torches. In the command center, Zelthor stared at the transmission of the boy and the beast standing amid the wreckage. "All this," he whispered, "because we laughed." When dawn came, the sky was gray and silent. The honey badger stood on the cracked floor of the old arena, chest rising slow, eyes dull but alive. Eli knelt beside it, his hand resting on its back. "You did it," he said softly. "It's over." The creature blinked once and let out a deep breath like a sigh. Varek approached, limping. "You just changed the galaxy, human." Eli shook his head. "No, he did." Above them, the first rays of sunlight broke through the smoke. The arena, the place where laughter had once echoed, now stood as a monument of silence and respect. No one would ever call Earth's creatures harmless again. The war was over, but the silence that followed felt heavier than the battles ever had. The galactic capital was a skeleton of light and ash. Broken ships hung in orbit like forgotten ghosts. Every world in the system had seen the same message. Do not underestimate humanity. Eli stood on the same arena floor where it had all begun. The once polished surface was cracked, filled with scorch marks and claw prints that no storm could erase. The wind moved through the ruins softly, carrying the faint smell of ozone and burned metal. The honey badger lay nearby, resting in the sunlight. Its armor was torn, fur scorched in patches, but its eyes still burned with that small, endless fire. Around them, alien engineers moved carefully, rebuilding the academy that had once mocked the boy and his creature. No one dared laugh anymore. Varek approached, leaning on a metal staff. His armor was gone, replaced by a plain robe. The scar across his face caught the morning light. "You should leave before the council reforms," he said quietly. "They'll want you back on trial." Eli smiled faintly. "Let them. Trials don't scare me." Varek studied him for a long moment. You were never trained to be a soldier, but you fought like one." "I didn't fight," Eli said softly. "He did. I just believed." The honey badger lifted its head as if hearing its name. It stood, stretching, its claws dragging softly against the broken floor. Even resting, it looked dangerous, not because of rage, but because it didn't know how to be afraid. From the horizon, the first human transports appeared. Their ships bore no weapons now, only supplies, doctors, and diplomats. The war that began with a laugh had ended with an uneasy peace. And in that peace, humanity's reputation had changed forever. Varex turned toward the incoming ships. "What will you do now?" Eli looked down at his companion. "We'll go home. He's tired. Maybe Earth will finally feel safe again." "Safe?" Varex chuckled bitterly. "After this, no one in the galaxy will ever sleep easily again." Eli smiled. "That's not my problem anymore." The honey badger gave a small grunt, brushing its head against Eli's arm. Together they walked through the cracked gates, past rows of alien soldiers who silently moved aside as they passed. No orders were given, no words were needed. Everyone simply watched. The boy and the beast walking into the dawn like old gods who had finished their work. Weeks later, the recordings of the arena fight became legend. Every data stream, every academy, every training hall in the galaxy replayed the same words spoken long ago. "It's just a harmless creature," they laughed, but no one laughed anymore. Children of 100 worlds grew up whispering stories of the human and his partner, the small, fearless beast that turned armies to dust. Some called it myth, some called it history. But those who saw it, those who heard that roar, knew it was neither. It was a warning carved into the memory of civilization. In a quiet valley far from any war, Eli sat by a river while the honey badger dozed beside him, its reflection rippling in the clear water. The stars overhead were calm now, no ships, no battles, just silence. He reached out and scratched behind its ear. "You know," he said softly, "they'll still talk about you." The creature blinked, unimpressed, and rolled over onto its back, paws twitching in sleep. Eli laughed once, a tired, human sound that the universe hadn't heard in years. "Yeah," he said. Harmless. The river kept flowing, the stars kept burning, and the legend of the harmless creature spread across the galaxy, proof that humanity didn't need monsters to win. They only needed loyalty, courage, and one angry little badger who refused to bow to anyone.